Story 1. I never thought I'd witness someone commit vandalism in the name of vanity, but here we are. I'd been working at the boutique downtown for about 3 years at that point. It wasn't glamorous work, but it paid the bills while I finished my business degree at night school. The shop specialized in contemporary women's clothing, mid-range prices, decent quality. We got all types of customers, but mostly normal people just looking for something nice to wear. The store had recently undergone renovations, new flooring, fresh paint, and yes, updated lighting throughout the entire space. The owners had invested a small fortune into modern LED fixtures that gave off this bright, clean light. Personally, I thought it made the clothes look better. The colors popped. Customers could actually see what they were buying instead of squinting under those dim yellow bulbs we used to have. It was a Tuesday afternoon, relatively quiet. Maybe 4 or 5 customers browsing through the racks. I was at the register folding some returns when she walked in. She was probably in her mid-40s, dressed head to toe in designer labels, the kind of person who needed everyone to know she had money. She strutted in like she owned the place, oversized sunglasses still on despite being indoors. She stopped about 5 feet inside the entrance, looked around, and her face twisted into this expression of absolute disgust. "Karen, oh my God, what is this lighting?" I glanced up from my folding. "Me, good afternoon. Can I help you find something?" Karen, "Yes, you can help me. You can tell me why this store is lit up like a hospital operating room." Me, "We recently upgraded our lighting system. It helps customers see the merchandise more clearly." Karen, "Well, it's absolutely hideous. These fluorescent lights are downgrading my beauty status." I blinked at her, not entirely sure I'd heard that correctly. Me, "I'm sorry, you're what?" Karen, "My beauty status. Do you have any idea how unflattering this lighting is?" I looked completely washed out. She pulled out her phone and started taking selfies, examining each one with increasing horror. Karen, "See? See this? I look like a corpse. This is unacceptable." Me, "I understand the lighting might take some getting used to, but they're actually LEDs, not fluorescents. They're supposed to provide better color accuracy." Karen, "I don't care what they are. They're making me look hideous, and I refuse to shop under these conditions." Me, "Well, I'm sorry you feel that way. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable shopping elsewhere." Wrong thing to say. Her head snapped toward me so fast, I thought she'd give herself whiplash. Karen, "Excuse me, are you seriously telling me to leave? I'm a customer. I have every right to be here." Me, "Of course you can stay. I just meant if the lighting bothers you that much." Karen, "Get me your manager. Now." I sighed internally. This was going to be one of those days. I called my manager from the back office. Her name was Miss Chen, and she'd been running this store for over a decade. She'd seen it all. She came out with her usual professional smile. "Miss Chen, hello, I'm the manager. How can I help you today?" Karen, "Finally, someone with authority. Your employee here has been completely unhelpful. I need you to dim these lights immediately." Miss Chen, "I'm sorry, but we can't adjust the lighting. It's a fixed system throughout the entire store." Karen, "Then turn some of them off. I refuse to shop under lighting that makes me look terrible." Miss Chen, "I understand your concern, but we need adequate lighting for all our customers to see the merchandise. We can't dim or turn off lights for individual preferences." Karen, "This isn't a preference. This is a necessity. These lights are assaulting my appearance. It's basically a form of violence against my beauty." I had to bite the inside of my cheek to keep from laughing. Miss Chen, "I'm very sorry, but our lighting policy applies to everyone. If you'd like, I can help you find something quickly so you don't have to stay under the lights for too long." Karen, "That's your solution. Rush me through my shopping experience." Miss Chen, "I'm trying to find a reasonable compromise." Karen, "There's nothing reasonable about subjecting customers to unflattering energy." Unflattering energy. She actually said that with a straight face. Karen, "You know what? Fine. If you won't fix this problem, I'll fix it myself. This is self-defense." Before either of us could react, she marched over to the nearest light fixture, reached up, and started unscrewing the bulb. "Ma'am, you can't do that. Miss Chen, stop right now. You're damaging store property." Karen continued unscrewing. The light flickered and went out. She held the bulb in her hand triumphantly. "Karen, there. Much better. See how much nicer this area looks now. This is what the whole store should look like." Miss Chen's professional demeanor cracked. "Miss Chen, you just vandalized store property. I'm calling the police." "Karen, vandalized? I improved it. You should be thanking me. I'm protecting myself against unflattering energy. Any court would rule this as self-defense." "Miss Chen, that's not how any of this works. You damaged property that doesn't belong to you." She pulled out her phone and actually started dialing. The color drained from Karen's face. "Karen, wait. You're seriously calling the police over one light bulb? Miss Chen, you damaged store property after being explicitly told not to." "Yes, I'm calling the police." "Karen, this is ridiculous. It's just a light bulb. I'll pay for it." "Miss Chen, it's not about the cost. It's about the fact that you thought you could vandalize our store because you didn't like how you looked." Karen stood there holding the light bulb, apparently realizing for the first time that actions have consequences. She set it down on a nearby display table like it was a bomb. "Karen, you know what? I don't need this. I don't need to shop at some second-rate boutique with terrible lighting anyway." She stormed toward the door, but Miss Chen stepped in front of her. "Miss Chen, you're not leaving until the police arrive. You can explain to them about your self-defense against unflattering energy." The police arrived about 10 minutes later. Karen tried to explain her beauty status theory. The officer's face remained completely neutral, but I could see the disbelief in his eyes. "Officer, so you unscrewed a light bulb because you didn't like how it made you look?" "Karen, it was degrading my appearance. I had no choice." "Officer, ma'am, you always have a choice. The choice to leave." She was issued a citation for vandalism and banned from the store. As the officer escorted her out, she was still ranting about unflattering energy and her rights as a beautiful person. Miss Chen turned to me after they left. "Miss Chen, in all my years managing this store, that was definitely a first." Me. At least she didn't try to take the light bulb with her. We both started laughing. Sometimes you just have to laugh at the absurdity. The light bulb was replaced the next day. And yes, it still made everyone look just fine. Story 2. I've been working at Lavender Lane Bath and Body Shop for about 2 months now. Before this, I was doing retail at a big box store, so I thought a small boutique would be more relaxed. Smaller space, fewer customers, less drama. I was wrong about that last part. The shop is one of those artisan places where everything is handmade and costs 3 times what it should. Organic soaps, essential oil blends, bath bombs that look like desserts. The owner makes everything in a workshop behind the store, and she's really passionate about it. She gave me one rule on my first day: let customers test products, but watch for people who abuse the samples. I didn't really understand what that meant until yesterday. It was a slow Tuesday afternoon. I was restocking the lavender section when the bell above the door chimed. A woman walked in wearing a flowy dress and about 7 different necklaces that jangled when she moved. She had that look. The one that retail workers recognize instantly. The "I'm about to make this everyone's problem" look. She made a beeline for our soap testing station. We keep sample bars of every scent we make on a wooden display table. There's a small sign that says please test 1 or 2 scents at a time, and a bottle of unscented lotion to cleanse your palate between samples. Most people smell 2 or 3 soaps and make a decision. This woman had other plans. She picked up the eucalyptus mint soap and rubbed it directly on her left forearm. Not a small test patch. She lathered up her entire forearm like she was washing dishes. Then she grabbed the rose geranium and did the same thing to her right forearm. Then the citrus burst on her left wrist. then the vanilla chai on her right wrist. I walked over slowly. Maybe she just didn't understand how testing worked. Me, hi there. Just so you know, you can smell the soaps without applying them directly. We have these test strips if you'd like. Karen, I need to feel the texture. I have very sensitive skin. Me, I understand, but if you apply too many at once, you won't be able to tell which scent is which. She ignored me completely. She grabbed the honey oat soap and rubbed it on her left elbow. Then the tea tree soap on her right elbow. She was moving faster now, like she was racing against time. Peppermint bark on her left shoulder. Coconut lime on her right shoulder. She had pushed up her dress sleeves as far as they would go and was working on her upper arms. Me, ma'am, I really need to ask you to stop. You're opening products that we can't resell. Karen, these are samples. Sample means I can sample them. Me, yes, but we have 10 different soaps open now, and you've applied all of them to your skin. She wasn't listening. She grabbed the charcoal detox soap and the shea butter blend. Both arms were completely covered now. She looked like she'd been finger painting. Different colored soap streaks all over her skin, mixing together where they touched. Then she started sniffing her arms. She held her left arm up to her nose, then her right, then back to her left. Her face scrunched up like she'd smelled something terrible. Karen, oh no. Oh no no no. Me, are you okay? Karen, they're arguing. Me, I'm sorry. What? Karen, the sense. They're arguing with each other. This is an assault on my senses. She was serious. Completely serious. She held both arms out like she was showing me evidence of a crime. Karen, the peppermint is fighting with the rose. The eucalyptus is bullying the vanilla. This is chaos, olfactory chaos. Other customers had stopped browsing and were staring. An older woman near the candle display was trying not to laugh. I was trying to figure out how to handle this situation without making it worse. Me, that's why we recommend testing 1 or 2 scents at a time. When you mix too many fragrances, they can clash. If you'd like to wash your arms, we have a sink in the back. Karen, you're not hearing me. These products are defective. They shouldn't argue with each other. A professional would know how to make compatible scents. Me, our products are designed to be used individually, not all at the same time. She turned to face me fully. Her necklaces jangled dramatically. Karen, are you saying this is my fault? Me, I'm saying that applying 10 different soaps at once isn't how they're meant to be tested. Karen, I have sensitive skin and a sensitive soul. You need to respect both. The owner had heard the commotion and came out from the back workshop. She took one look at the woman's soap-covered arms and the pile of open sample bars on the table. Owner, is there a problem here? Karen, your employee is harassing me for testing your products. She's discriminating against people with sensitive souls. Owner, I see you've opened quite a few samples. Were you planning to purchase any of these? Karen, how can I purchase them when they're all fighting with each other? They're incompatible. They've created a toxic environment on my skin. Owner, ma'am, when you apply multiple strong scents simultaneously, they will naturally compete for dominance. That's not a defect in the product. That's basic chemistry. Karen, I want compensation for this experience. This has been traumatic. Owner, what I'm going to do is ask you to leave. You've opened 10 bars of soap, applied them all to your body, and you're now demanding compensation for a problem you created yourself. Karen, you can't kick me out. I'm a customer. Owner, you were a customer. Now you're someone who's abused our sampling policy and disrupted other shoppers. Please leave. The woman looked around the shop like she was expecting someone to defend her. The other customers were all very deliberately looking at products. Nobody made eye contact with her. Karen, fine. I didn't want your arguing soaps anyway. My soul is too refined for this establishment. She stormed toward the door, arms still covered in multicolored soap streaks. She tried to push the door open, but her soapy hands slipped off the handle. She had to wipe her hands on her dress before she could grip it properly. The necklaces jangled furiously as she finally got the door open and left. The shop was silent for about 3 seconds. Then the older woman by the candles burst out laughing. Other customers joined in. My owner just shook her head and walked back to the workshop. "Owner, add up the cost of those opened soaps and take it out of petty cash. And make a new sign. 2 sample limit." I spent the next 20 minutes cleaning up the testing station. There was soap residue everywhere. We had to throw away 10 perfectly good sample bars because they'd been compromised. I made a sign that said "Please limit testing to 2 cents maximum" and posted it right above the display. A customer came up to the register later that afternoon with a bar of eucalyptus mint soap. Customer: "I promise this is the only scent I tested." Me: "I appreciate that more than you know." I still work at Lavender Lane. The owner installed a small security camera pointed at the testing station, and every time someone picks up more than 2 sample bars, I materialize next to them like a retail guardian angel and gently redirect them to the test strips. Because I've learned that some people's souls aren't just sensitive, they're high maintenance, and those people need boundaries before they can blame the soap for their own choices. Story 3. I've been working at the gas station off Highway 42 for about 2 years now. It's one of those 24-hour places that sits right off the exit, catching people on road trips and locals just trying to fill up before work. The pay isn't great, but my manager is decent, and the overnight shifts give me time to study for my nursing exams. I figured I'd seen everything by this point. Drunk people trying to pump gas at 3 in the morning. Someone who tried to pay with a bag of pennies. Even a guy who insisted his truck ran on diesel when it very clearly did not. But I'd never seen anyone claim ownership of gas molecules until that Wednesday afternoon. It was around 2 in the afternoon, middle of the week. Not too busy, maybe 3 or 4 cars at the pumps. I was inside restocking the energy drink cooler when I heard shouting outside. Not unusual, honestly. Sometimes people get frustrated with the card readers or the pump doesn't start right away. Usually it resolves itself. This didn't resolve itself. I looked through the window and saw a woman absolutely losing her mind at pump 4. She was screaming at another customer, a middle-aged guy who looked completely bewildered. He just pulled up to pump 5 and had started filling his sedan. I headed outside to see what was going on. The woman was dressed like she was heading to some country club lunch. White capri pants, a bright pink polo shirt, designer sunglasses perched on her head. She was pointing at the guy like he'd just committed a felony. "Karen, you stole from me. You're a thief." The guy looked around like maybe she was talking to someone else. "Guy, I'm sorry." "What?" "Karen, don't play dumb. You started pumping before I did. You stole my gas molecules." I approached slowly, trying to assess the situation. Me: "Excuse me? Is there a problem here?" Karen whirled on me. Karen: "Yes, there's a problem. This man started his pump before mine, and now he's stealing the gas that should be going into my tank." Me: "I'm not sure I understand. You're at pump 4, he's at pump 5. They're separate pumps." Karen: "They all pull from the same tank underground, don't they?" Me: "Well, yes, but there's more than enough gas for everyone." Karen: "That's not the point. He started first, which means his pump is pulling harder. It's creating suction that's diverting molecules away from my pump. Basic physics. That was definitely not how any of this worked." Guy: "Lady, I'm just trying to get gas. I didn't steal anything from you." Karen: "You absolutely did. I was here first. I pulled in 30 seconds before you. Those are my molecules you're pumping into your car." Me: "Ma'am, the pumps don't work that way. Each pump dispenses independently. Him pumping gas doesn't affect your pump at all." Karen: "Of course it does. Why else would his pump be going faster than mine?" I glanced at both pumps. They were going at basically the same speed. Me: "They're pumping at the same rate." Karen: "No, they're not. Look at his numbers. They're going up faster." The guy had started pumping maybe 20 seconds before her. His total was higher because he'd started earlier. That was it. Guy: I'm almost done here. Can we just drop this? Karen, drop this? Drop this. You've stolen approximately .4 gallons of gas that belong to me. That's theft. Me, ma'am, he hasn't stolen anything. You're both getting gas from the same supply, but independently. There's thousands of gallons in the underground tank. Karen, I want him arrested for theft. Guy, are you serious right now? His pump clicked off. He'd finished filling up. He quickly replaced the nozzle and started walking toward his car. Karen, where do you think you're going? You need to pay for my gas too since you stole mine. Guy, I'm leaving. You're insane. He got in his car and drove off. Karen looked like she might actually explode. Karen, did you see that? He just fled the scene. That's a hit and run. Me, ma'am, there was no accident. He just left. Karen, he stole from me, and you let him drive away. Me, he didn't steal anything. You can finish pumping your gas now. She marched up to me, getting way too close to my face. Karen, I demand to speak to your manager. Me, I can call him, but he's going to tell you the same thing. Karen, I want a refund. Me, a refund for what? You haven't paid for anything yet. Karen, I want a refund for all the air I've had to breathe during this ordeal. Do you know how much oxygen I've wasted screaming at you people? My lungs have been working overtime because of your incompetent station design. I stared at her. Me, you want us to refund you for air? Karen, yes, I've probably breathed an extra 100 times in the last 5 minutes because of the stress you've caused me. That's oxygen I wouldn't have needed to consume if your pumps worked properly. Me, ma'am, air is free. We don't charge for breathing. Karen, well, you should be paying me for all the extra breathing I had to do. This is negligence. I could sue. Me, you could try. But I don't think any lawyer would take a case about stolen gas molecules and oxygen consumption. Karen, this is discrimination. You're discriminating against me because I'm educated enough to understand physics. Me, I'm not discriminating against anyone. I'm explaining how gas pumps work. She yanked the nozzle out of her car, even though her tank wasn't full, and slammed it back into the pump. Karen, forget it. I'm taking my business elsewhere. Somewhere that respects customers and doesn't let people steal their rightfully owned molecules. Me, you're welcome to do that. Karen, I'm reporting this station to the Better Business Bureau and the Environmental Protection Agency. You're allowing molecular theft and forcing customers to overbreathe. She got in her car and peeled out of the parking lot so fast she nearly hit the trash can by the air pump. I stood there for a second, trying to process what had just happened. Another customer at Pump 6 who'd witnessed the whole thing rolled down his window. Customer, does she know that she just wasted more gas speeding out of here than she would have saved if molecular theft was actually a thing? Me. Somehow I don't think logic is her strong suit. Customer, fair point. I went back inside and wrote up an incident report for my manager. Under description of incident, I wrote, customer claimed theft of gas molecules and demanded refund for breathing. He called me an hour later after reading it. Manager, please tell me you're joking about the breathing refund. Me, I wish I was. Manager, what is wrong with people? Me, I asked myself that question every single shift. We never saw her again. I like to imagine she found some gas station that only allows one car at a time to pump, protecting everyone's molecules from theft. But probably she just went somewhere else and made some other employee's day weird. The guy at Pump 6 left me a $5 tip when he came in to pay. He said it was hazard pay for dealing with that level of crazy. I bought myself a coffee with it and got back to studying for my nursing exam. At least in healthcare, when people act irrational, they usually have a medical reason for it. Usually. Story 4. I've been working at Golden Feast Buffet for about 3 years now. It's not glamorous work, but it pays the bills, and I'm saving up for culinary school. The restaurant is one of those massive, all-you-can-eat places where people come to absolutely destroy their stomachs for $20. Most customers are pretty reasonable. They load up their plates, come back for seconds or thirds, and everyone's happy. But every once in a while, someone comes in who treats the concept of unlimited food like it's a personal challenge from the universe. I was working the evening shift last Tuesday when she walked in. Middle-aged woman, designer purse, that haircut that screams I want to speak to your manager even before anything goes wrong. She paid her admission fee and made a beeline for the buffet stations like she was on a mission. I was refilling the mashed potatoes when I first noticed her technique. She wasn't just putting food on her plate. She was engineering something. A base layer of fried rice, then chicken wings stacked like Lincoln logs, then a pile of crab legs balanced on top of that. She moved down the line, adding more and more, building this precarious tower of food that defied physics. My coworker noticed too. He was new, only 2 weeks on the job, and his eyes went wide. Coworker, should we say something? Me, let's just watch for now. We'd both seen plate stackers before, but this was different. This woman was treating her plate like it was a competitive sport. She added a heap of lo mein noodles, then started placing egg rolls vertically around the edges like she was building a fortress wall. The plate was bending under the weight. She made it about 5 steps from the buffet line before the whole thing collapsed. Food everywhere. Fried rice on her shoes, chicken wings rolling across the floor, crab legs scattered like some kind of seafood explosion. The crash was so loud that half the restaurant turned to look. I grabbed a mop and headed over. My manager was already there with a reassuring smile. Manager, no worries, ma'am. Accidents happen. Just grab another plate and we'll get this cleaned up. The woman's face turned red. Not embarrassed red. Angry red. Karen, this is your fault. These plates are too small. Manager, I understand your frustration, but our plates are standard size. You're welcome to make multiple trips or use a second plate. Karen, multiple trips. I paid for all you can eat. That means all I can eat. Manager, yes, and you can eat as much as you'd like. You just need to use multiple plates instead of stacking everything on one. I was down on my knees cleaning up the mess while this conversation happened above me. A crab leg had rolled under a nearby table and I had to crawl to get it. Real dignified. Karen, this is discrimination. You're limiting my potential. I stopped mopping. Did she really just say that? I looked up at my manager, whose professional smile was starting to crack. Manager, ma'am, we're not limiting anything. We're just asking you to follow basic physics. The plates can only hold so much weight. Karen, I know my rights. I paid good money for this meal, and I will stack my food however I want. She stormed back to the buffet line. My manager and I exchanged glances. He gave me a subtle nod that meant stay close and watch her. I finished cleaning up the first disaster and positioned myself near the buffet, pretending to refill the soup station. The woman grabbed a new plate, and she started building again. Same technique, same ridiculous engineering project. Fried rice base, protein tower, vegetables shoved into every gap. But this time she was going even higher, like she was trying to prove a point. My coworker was watching from behind the counter, frozen with fear. The new guy looked like he was witnessing a horror movie. Other customers had stopped eating just to watch this unfold. Karen balanced the last egg roll on top. The plate was sagging in the middle, held up by her hands on both sides. She took one careful step away from the buffet, then another. Me, ma'am, that's really not safe. Karen, mind your own business. I'm a paying customer. She took a third step. The plate buckled. Time seemed to slow down as the entire structure tilted to the left. She tried to compensate, shifting her weight, but that just made it worse. The whole thing went down like a demolished building. Food splattered on her designer purse. A chicken wing hit her in the chest. Fried rice in her hair. This time, she didn't yell. She just stood there, covered in food, shaking with rage. The restaurant had gone completely silent. Even the kitchen staff had come out to watch. Manager, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. You've been warned about the plate situation. and you chose to ignore our staff's instructions. We'll refund your admission fee, but you need to go. Karen, you can't kick me out. I'll sue. I'll leave such a bad review that you'll go out of business. Manager, that's your choice, ma'am. But right now, you need to leave the premises. She sputtered for a few more seconds, then grabbed her food-covered purse and stomped toward the exit. She tried to slam the door on her way out, but it was one of those slow hydraulic doors, so it just closed gently behind her, which somehow made the whole thing even funnier. The restaurant erupted in applause. My manager took a small bow. I went to get the mop again. My coworker came over while I was cleaning up disaster number 2. Coworker, does that happen a lot? Me, first time I've seen someone try it twice in a row. We found fried rice in weird places for the rest of the week. Behind the salad bar, under the dessert station. One grain somehow ended up on the ceiling. Nobody could figure out how that was physically possible. The manager printed out a new sign that night. Maximum recommended plate capacity. Please use multiple plates for larger portions. We laminated it and put it right at the start of the buffet line. I still work at Golden Feast Buffet, still saving for culinary school. And every time I see someone start to stack their plate a little too high, I remember the woman who thought an all-you-can-eat buffet was limiting her potential, and I walk over with my friendliest smile and offer them a second plate before physics makes the decision for them.